Just an aside, I thought our sound was messed up.
This
And I
can't
had
be
seen the
possible.
video before, and they hand him the mic, and
No, it
then
was
it
definitely
straightens
them.
up. So it was them.
Levi said he thought they were running VHS. That was that long ago, but they may have been. They may have switched to beta in the middle with the microphone, but who knows? But that, if you don't know, that's Simon Sinek. That's the most viewed TED Talk of all time. And I watched a video. I think it was like a year later. He was interviewing with a gal, and she asked him. She said, "Why are you always talking about the why? Isn't the what and the how equally as important?" He's like, "Yeah, the what and the how are equally as important. The problem is most places he goes to, he's a business consultant, are missing the why. They're doing the how, they're doing the what, they're missing the why. And we just want to make sure that we remind you guys constantly so we're not missing the why here at Metro. I mean, as Paul mentioned, the reason we're here, the why we're doing this is to reach people for Christ because he changes lives. We have the ultimate why. We've got the ultimate purpose here at Metro. That is why we do what we do. And just we want to make sure that we continue to remind you of that you as leaders are constantly pouring that in to your people, your leaders, your small group, wherever it is. Why are we here? Why are we doing what we're doing? We want to make sure we connect the dots for everybody. If you think about Jesus, he was all about the why because the why is the heart of the issue. Right? I mean, you think about the Pharisees for a second. They were all about the how and the what, being showy, wearing things here and there, and very ruralistic, and you have to do it this way, and you have to do it this way. And he's like, you're missing the whole thing. You are missing the why. You're missing the heart. And so we just want to make sure that we're constantly talking about the why here at Metro. They're going to throw up a slide. This is a survey response that we get back. And most of you guys know this. Some of you may not. When we get a first, a second, or a third time guest card here at Metro, we send them surveys, and they respond to those. And I just want to kind of use this to maybe help connect the dots as to how we would be talking, making sure that we're talking to our people about this. So I'm not going to read this whole thing, but there's two highlighted parts. This lady was responding to questions about what you like most about your visit, how did you feel, what things like that. Would you come back? Would you bring somebody else with you? What did you like most? What would you improve upon? And in multiple ones, this is not the entire survey that she sent back. It was too long to put all of it up there. But 2 different times she talks about safe place for our children. That was clearly not only something inside of her, but something that she just experienced here. That was a safe place. And so you think about what did we provide? An environment that was safe for her to take her kids. How do we do that? Well, we've got a great check-in team that made her feel welcome and warm and did more than just say, what's your name and let me put you in the system. They cared about her. They talked to her. They got her information. We got a great information center who probably walked her all the way upstairs, talked to them, made them feel comfortable. And then when they got to their classroom in Adventureland, somebody was at the door to meet them. Right? That's how we did it. And so I think we can tell our people, hey, great job. You made somebody feel safe and you did a great job checking them in and doing all those things. But a lot of times in our hearts, we're saying more than that. But we never want to just leave it implied. We want to take it another step further. So if we're connecting the why to that, here's why all of that was a big deal. Because that lady, that couple, walked back downstairs after checking in their child and went into the auditorium and didn't think about their kids. They didn't have some other thing going on in their head. They didn't sit down. We've all seen it when you come in and something frustrates you or it's not clean or somebody didn't treat you right. You come in and you sit down and this is your body language. That couple went in and they sat down and they were open to what God wanted to do in their life in that service. That is the why behind why we did all those things ahead of time. Prepared for them to come here, had a system and checked them in so that they could get to the auditorium with a clear conscience, not being distracted about whether their kid's safe or if they're in a good environment or if it's dirty, if anybody even cares about their kid up there for the first time, so that they could hear from God. And she goes on to talk about the mission service. That was her first weekend here, how great it was, how moved they were, and different things that happened inside of them. A huge part of that was what everybody did in Adventureland and Information Center and everywhere to get them in the front door. And it's creating an irresistible environment where they can experience the why.
Yeah, and what happens at times for us is that we know the why. You know the why. Every person here knows the why. But what happens is that at times we begin to take the why for granted. And we do it ourselves, and when we start taking the why for granted, we start losing steam ourselves. But you are leaders. You're leaders of small groups. You're leaders of ministries. And if you're not keeping the why in front of your people all the time, regularly, we can wane. And we start doing things, and we kind of lose sight on why we're doing those things. Now, I want to draw something out. Some of you have seen this before, this isn't much of a drawing here, but it's what I refer to as a 5-star experience. And this is just kind of remind you what I'm talking about here. And when I do the 5-star experience, I talk about this. What I'm talking about is a seamless experience of what we're trying to create at Metro, what we're trying to provide, because what we're trying to provide is environments that help people provide environments where people can experience life change in their lives. In your small group, you're trying to provide environments where people can experience life change. In our weekends, what we're trying to provide is environments where people can experience life change. And in order for that to happen, what we're trying to do, and this is more the how and the what, but then I'm going to come back to the why. The how, or the what and the how we're trying to do in this 5-star experience we're trying to provide is provide a seamless experience. So I'm going to kind of illustrate it first before I tell you what we're trying to do, which you're going to be going, as I tell you, you're going to go, yeah. But using a restaurant as an example. If a restaurant, and hopefully a business, whatever your business is or organization, is trying to provide 5-star experiences, but if a restaurant is trying to provide a 5-star experience, a seamless experience, what that would look like, in short, I'm going to try to do it quickly, is they would, from the time that you drive onto the premise of that restaurant, it would be a well-kept location. It's clean, trash is picked up, it looks good outside, the building looks good. You walk up to the door, everything's clean. You walk in, you're greeted with a warm greeting inside. Things look good. In a timely way, you're escorted to your table. You get to your table, the server comes up. They are polite, they are nice. They get you a menu, they get you your drink quickly. If there's any little glitch that they misunderstand something, they are polite, they apologize, they take care of it. They take your order. The food comes out in a timely way. When the food comes out, the food, if it's supposed to be warm, it's warm. If it's supposed to be cold, it's cold. It looks good. You taste it. It tastes great. Somewhere along the line, you have to go to the restroom. You walk into the restroom. It's spotless. It cleans. It smells good. You feel like you could lay down and take a nap on that floor. I mean, this is just this incredible restroom. So it's great. You come back to your table. It's great. The service is there. When you're through, they take your plates away. They're polite. They're nice. They don't hover. They don't talk too much. But they're there when you need them. When you're ready to go, they get the check to you in a timely way. And you exit. There's a friendly, hey, hope to see you again. And you walk out and you go, wow, the food was delicious. The experience, this is a seamless experience. That is a 5-star experience. But what happens if just 2 or 3 of those pieces are missing? It's an interesting deal. You can have a restaurant, and I've been to some, that have excellent food. It's delicious. It's great. But from the time I drove on the premise, there was trash outside, cigarette butts. The building looked unkept. And I'm already developing somewhat of a, wow, I don't know. I guess we'll eat. We're here, but you walk in, and maybe the interior looks better. The service, so. They're slow. One of them isn't. They're just kind of rude. You go to the restroom. It's like, oh, my goodness, this is disgusting. I don't want to touch anything and then go out and eat. This is awful. The food comes on, and the food's delicious. When you walk away, what do? Well, maybe you go back. Maybe the food wins out, but you're gonna think about it twice. And there's a high likelihood it won't be your first choice. The food was excellent, though. But there are other things. It was not a seamless experience. It was not a 5-star experience. What we're trying to do at Metro is provide a 5-star experience. That takes all of us. Because if one piece isn't doing its part, if one of us, one of our teams, one of our ministries, our small groups, if we're not doing our part, then we're missing out, and people are missing out, and they may not come back. And there may not be the life change, which is the why behind it. So here's what we're trying to do. From the time that people drive onto our campus, what we'd like to have happen is that what they see and experience is a campus that looks great. The grass is well kept. It looks clean. There isn't trash laying around. It is picked up. Guess what? We can all help on that. You know, if you see trash, you're a part of this. You can help pick up trash as you come in so that others won't see trash and just think, oh, this place isn't that well kept. We want it to look great. We want our landscaping to be great. From the time they get out of the car, we want to do kind of the unexpected. We would like to have greeters out in the parking lot. So there's this unexpected, hey, how are you doing? Out in the parking lot before they even get up close to the building. It's somebody hopefully that's polite, that doesn't invade their space, but that is friendly with them. Tries to engage them, is energetic, is positive, is upbeat about being there. You can see they're excited, they like it, they're just saying hi. Somebody at the along the entrance, somebody saying hi right there to them. Now, we don't typically have greeters that right up close to the door because that's expected. We're trying to do something else. So as they walk in, we're wanting them ideally before they get into the auditorium to have at least 3 warm welcomes. They might be greeted inside at the information center or somebody else, and maybe the ushers that are handing out a program. If they go straight on into the service, what we want is the program for them to be able to read it, understand it, like if you're at a restaurant where you understand what that menu is all about. That they can sit down and then we kind of give them space and go, wow, if they stick to what it says here and I can read it and I can understand, this may be okay. If they're going to take their kids to Adventureland, they need that. We want to have signs if they need that, if they need to go to the restroom, or hopefully if they don't want to get information or ask, they could see it and go on their own. But if they are open to information, that we could give them the information, say, here's this, here's that. There's a safe place for your kids, for the security. That needs to be a positive experience for them as they go through that. We want that to be there. Once they make it into the service, we want them to be able to experience hopefully a service where in the first 5 minutes we are trying to make them feel comfortable, accepted, and welcome and loved in that environment. Service have said that unchurched people, that's what they're looking for, is that. So we want to try to provide that. That's the experience that we're trying to provide. That takes all of us. That's the what. That's the how. And we need to pay attention to that. And in your areas, we all need to come that together to where it's a seamless experience. Because one of those pieces is missing. They go to the restroom and it's filthy, it's dirty. That's not a good experience. People typically make their decision whether they're going to come back way before they ever hear the message. So we're all a part of that. You're all a part of it. But the reason behind that, the why behind all those things that we do in providing the 5-star experience and providing the seamless experience that we're all a part of is to see lives changed by Christ. We need to keep that before our people as we're doing it. They're not just cleaning a restroom. They're not just greeting. They're not just anything. They're not just serving a coffee. Man, you are a part of helping people's lives be transformed. When you meet as a small group leader, it's not that you are just doing a small group study and making it through curriculum. This is an opportunity. This is an environment for life change to take place. And so you're trying to provide the best environment because of the why that's behind it. And what you need to keep before yourself, what you need to keep before your people is that why behind what we're doing, because that is what keeps people focused and engaged. Like, man, I want to be a part of this because I want to be a part of helping change lives forever. That's what we're seeking to do. That's the why that we've got to keep before us.
Yeah, and you know the hard part about that can be vision can leak. You've probably heard that before. Vision leaks. And we have to be filled up constantly with the vision that's going on. You know, I spent 15 years in the radio industry, and we talked about how to reach people all the time. I mean, we had systems, we had numbers, we had strategies. You know, we called it a frequency, that we had to get to a certain frequency with their advertising, with their products, what we were trying to get our listeners to do on a radio station before they actually got it. And when I started in radio 18 years ago, 19 years ago, that's sad, man, it was a 3. You needed to hit people 3 times. It was a 3 frequency we were shooting for. First time they heard it, they became aware of it. Second time, they considered it. Third time, they made a decision. They were acting or not acting. Now it's a 9. It's tripled in 15 years. And it's because we are bombarded with so much more advertising than we've ever been bombarded with. And so you've got to catch them 9 times. It takes 3 times just for them to become aware of you now. Then between 4 and 6, they kind of start thinking about it. They become familiar, and then they move to an understanding of it and then a purchase. But it leaks. The hard part is once we did that with clients, we got them to a 9 or a 3, wherever it was. That wasn't enough, because that was just when they made their first decision, and you needed them to make another decision and continue. And so they had to continue to buy advertising, continue to market to people, continue to do things. And we have to continue to pour into our people in the exact same way as leaders, because it leaks. It literally leaks out of them. And so that example we showed earlier on the survey, that's one of the million ways that we can just take things from this meeting and pour them into your team. Anytime you get an email, pour that stuff in your team about things that are going on, those surveys, other things you're hearing in small group. When we have events coming up, when Mike sends out emails to all the small group leaders, use those things to help people keep the vision inside. When you lose the vision, which is losing the why, you move into just having the how and the what. And that leads to people starting to think that we're perfectionists, that we're only about the task and not about them. We don't care about what's going on with it. And that's when they start to get uncomfortable with what they're doing, and it only becomes about that. And people that they encounter feel that. People on their teams feel that. People in their small group, you can kind of start to feel when somebody has, for some reason, lost the why. And so we want to make sure they don't lose the why and only have the how and the what.
For me, as pastor over the years, I was challenged early on by guys that were wiser and way down the road, way further than me, that about the time that I was like getting sick and tired of casting vision and sharing the vision of Metro and what we're doing and all that, and I'm like, man, they've got to have this in their sleep. About the time that I'm worn out from sharing vision is when people are typically just getting it. And it has proven to be true. And it has proven to be something that I have to keep reminding myself of over and over. I need the vision, cast more. I need to keep that before us. As leaders, you need to be doing that. In your small group, you need to keep before yourself. You need to keep before your people what you're doing. In your ministries, you need to keep before them what you're doing. That this is about life change. You need to keep before yourself, even as like a ministry leader. It's not just the task in doing it, but part of what you're doing, even in a ministry setting, is helping people. Life change happens even with believers, that you're helping grow people in that context towards Christ, towards Christ's likeness. So each of those components is really important.
Yeah, there's some, we're going to talk here in a little bit. You guys are going to go into breakouts and talk with people and, man, explore, pick up each other's brains, because it never ends. There are all kinds of ways to do this. And so listen to what other people are saying, how they're continuing to do that, how they're continuing to focus on the why when we break out into different groups, whether it's ministry groups or small groups. We kind of gave one with ministry, an easy one with small groups. The easiest one is the first night with the small group covenant, to just go through that and don't just read the things, say why those things are in the sheet. Why is it important that we keep what happens in the group in the group? I think everybody agrees that's a great thing, but why do we do that? So guess what? When somebody has a problem in week 6, they can come and talk about it in week 7, because nobody has messed up that trust in week 3 and taken something outside the group. So explain the why behind it. But then second week in small group, don't just go right into the icebreaker or pray and go into the icebreaker, do something. Just quick reminder, this doesn't have to be a 15-minute speech by you every time. It's little things here and there throughout the experience that they're having, whether in small group or that. But just say, hey, just a reminder, we went through the covenant last week. Why are we here today? And maybe let a couple of them answer why they're here. And maybe the first time you do it, and then week 3, you ask them to explain it. So just be thinking about what are the little ways that I can remind everybody about why we're here. Now, one other thing, this is a new thing that we're going to be adding for everybody's help. We've talked a lot about physical environments, relational environments. One of the things we want to make sure that happens, and that we've seen happening a little bit, and this is why we've created this solution for it, is we've seen some people kind of slipping through the cracks in different areas. And I'll give you a couple examples. On our rosters, let's talk about small groups for a minute, and then I'll do ministries. On our rosters and small groups, we have people on our rosters that have been on there for a long time that aren't coming to the group anymore, haven't been in a full semester, maybe sometimes 2 or 3 semesters, and we want to make sure that they're still being cared for. And right now, they're just kind of sitting on your roster. On top of it, they're also taking a spot right now that someone else could fill, that you may be the perfect group for them. And so we don't want to like lose them and delete them out of the system, because we want to care for them. They're still coming here. There's something going on that's not working right, but we want to open up a space, but more importantly, continue to care for them. So for all teams, and I'm going to talk about both specifically how we're going to do this. For all teams, we're creating a care roster in the system for you. Now, our system is called ACS. That's an acronym we use. That's our database where we house all the rosters, and you can email from there and do various things. If you're not familiar with that, get with your whatever your next uplink is, whether it's a coach, a director, your staff uplink. We want to get you trained on that. It's an easy system to use. It's fantastic. It helps us keep track of everybody so that people don't slip through the cracks. So if you have someone on your small group roster, we'll start there and get the ministry in a second, and they haven't been in a semester, we want to move them to your care roster so that it opens up the spot, but that they're also on your care roster. And we want you to follow up with that care roster as well from time to time. We're going to be triggering different time frames for you guys to follow up with them. So we're going to be triggering, hey, let's call it Care Week or whatever we end up calling it. It's Care Week. Everybody's get in touch with your people one time this week. Whether you see them at church, you're very specific about saying, hey, how's it going? You make a phone call, but let's get in touch with them. Let's care for them. So if they're not coming anymore, if you know that they've been moved to another small group, then we want to get them deleted off your roster because they're still being cared for by somebody, right? But this is for people that are still going to Metro. They haven't moved to another group, but they haven't come to your group in a semester either. We want to continue to care for them and ask your guys' help in doing that, in caring for them. Now, if you're on the ministry side and you're running a ministry team, we're going to start having that done once someone leaves your roster. So right now, small groups have care rosters in the system. You all have a care roster right now. You may not have seen it yet, but it's in there. And what we're going to ask you to do tonight is Mike gave all you guys, the small group leaders, your rosters. If there's anyone that should be moved to the care roster, please circle them for us. Because we're going to, this first batch, because there's going to be a lot of it, we're going to do these first ones for you. So circle anyone that needs to be on your care roster. If somebody needs to be deleted, write deleted next to it, and we'll probably get in touch with you, just ask what's going on with them. Really, the only reason they should be deleted is if they're either in another group or they moved out of town, or they're, for whatever reason, not going to church here anymore. Then on the ministry side, again, you guys don't have to do anything tonight if you're on the ministry side, but as someone leaves your team, we want you to move them to a care roster. So whoever your ministry uplink is, go through the coach, that'll go through the staff person, whether it's Brett, Marilyn, all the different ministries we have here, and they will get a care roster added for you and make sure that person gets in there for that. So we want to make sure we continue to care for these people, that they're not slipping through the cracks. And the ultimate why behind that is we hear a lot of times when someone leaves the church, we hear it at conferences when people leave other churches. One of the most common responses is, well, I didn't show up for a couple weeks and nobody cared. Nobody called. Nobody reached out to me. Nobody shot me an email. I just went missing and nobody cared. And so we want to make sure that doesn't happen. There are other reasons, obviously, that people leave. We want to make sure that's not the reason that they're leaving. So we want to make sure that we're caring for them.
Yeah, the whole roster deal is kind of a parentheses of what we're doing, but the key, what we're really wanting you to get is this why, to stay focused on the why. Keep that before yourself. Keep that before your people in your small groups. And part of your why is to see life change in people's life. Keep that before them. If we could weekly try to come up with ways to communicate that in small groups, we're loving people, we're caring for people, because that's part of helping people become more like Jesus. That's what Jesus did. He cared for people. He loved people. Help keep that before your small groups, in your ministry. Man, every time you can, we have a huddle sheet that ministry leaders are all getting, right? From Brett. Great tool to use in this. This one this week talks about some of this, the value of vision and the difference it makes when you share vision with your people and you keep that why before your
Yeah,
people.
and you know, I just forgot a why right now. I mean, I'm sitting here and I just forgot one. You know, it's way beyond that they don't feel cared for, because if they leave church, it's not about Metro. It's beyond that. Because if they take a step away from church because somebody didn't care, that is a first step away from God. It's not about Metro. If they're just like, Metro's not the church for me, we are on the phone trying to find the right church for them. Because it's about them staying and connected in a relationship with God. And so we want to make sure, again, hopefully you're seeing us kind of connect those dots tonight and give you some examples of how you can do that with everybody. A couple of other things before we head out to our groups, our little huddles, breakouts, whatever. Yeah, breakouts. There's a yellow pad going around. If you haven't filled that out, please keep that going. One has refresh, one has small groups on it. You can just keep that going. Mike has it back there if you haven't done that, just so we know who is here tonight. If you have your care roster when you're done, if you throw it in this basket up here for the small group leaders, who circle again care, write delete for those that need to be deleted, and drop them in this basket when you go. And then just a reminder, small groups start the 21st, the week of the 21st, which is, 2 weeks? That's scary. Week and a half. It's right around the corner. So be contacting your people. Reminder, they don't know they're on your roster, that it wasn't that was successful until you've emailed them and said, hey, you're on my roster, looking forward to seeing you. So make sure you're constantly doing that. The breakout rooms are right here on the screen, so kind of figure out where you're at. If you are in Adventureland or Fusion, we would prefer that you go to the Adventureland or Fusion, even if you are a small group leader as well. So if you're whatever you do in Adventureland or Fusion, if you're an adult small group leader, we want you to go to the Adventureland or Fusion breakout. Everybody else, if you are a dual person, you're doing two, it's your choice whether you want to go to the small group one or the ministry one. So break somebody's heart and go to one or the other, and they'll see which leader you like best. Anything before we wrap up?
Yeah, just related to small groups, launching, taking off here in a couple of weeks. Just remember, this is a key time to be meeting people, inviting people into your small group. If they're involved in a group, that's great. But as you meet people or people that you're not sure, man, invite them to your group or help funnel them to another group. We would like to see upwards of 80% of our people involved in small groups, and then just keep that why before your people each week in your ministries, in your small groups. So what we're going to be talking about in the breakouts is
the why.
How to do the why. How to do the why. How do you do it? How could you do it? What are creative ways that you could do it in your small group week to week to keep that before your people, your small group? How do you do that in your ministries to keep that before your people? How do you do it to keep it before yourself? So how do you do the why? I think that is it.
Yep. Thank you guys very much.
For it.